All right, audio, video, screen. All right, let's go. Hey, what's up guys? Vitaly here with TouchLifeStudio, and today I'm going to talk about something that's very important to most of my viewers as well as photographers. And what I want to discuss is how do you take your photography to a completely different level? So let's talk about it. So what would actually improve your photography? What would actually take it from, let's say, this level to the next level? And maybe you're a beginner, or maybe you've been shooting for 20 years and you are pretty avid and professional and or amateur, whatever place you might be at right now. There are certain gear, right, within the photography community that helps you to elevate your skill level, helps you to go to the next level, and I want to discuss this today. It is fun to talk about gear. It is fun to talk about, cameras and lenses and things like that. But you know what? What actually will help you to improve your photography are some of these things that I'm going to share with you in this video. Now, I'm going to try to lay them out maybe in almost like a consecutive order, what you want to consider getting next. However, this is not a playbook for photography, because you might be a landscape photographer, or you might be a portrait photographer, or you might be a wedding photographer. Whichever area of photography you might be part of, there are some things that might help you more than others. So let's start with the very first one. Is obviously, let's assume you already have a camera, right? So you already been shooting for quite a bit. This is your camera and you have a lens. So what's next? What do you need to get next? I'm also assuming you got your memory card and you have your battery and maybe a strap. So this is not what this video is going to be about. It's about specifically type of gear that is going to help you to go from A to F to M to Z, basically, right? So one of the first things is that I personally remember purchasing and I still use today, but again, it helps me a lot, is it's a flash, okay? And it doesn't have to be specific flash. You can actually go with the third-party lenses. I personally shoot Nikon, but it really doesn't matter to me whether you shoot Canon or Sony or Fuji or Leica. Whatever camera brand you use, whatever you like, it's perfectly fine. What's gonna help you to elevate is next is the flash. Now, why is the flash? Well, photography is all about capturing light. It's all about, what hits your sensor, and whatever hits your sensor is the actual light that's being captured. So sometimes you might be going to different events. Let's say it's a party, or maybe it's somewhere indoors and there's just not enough light with the existing lens that you're using. Well, you want to be able to provide some artificial lighting. Yes, if you're using a window light, it's awesome. If you're using some kind of a sun, it is awesome. But if you're indoors and just not enough light out there, you want to get yourself an external or basically on-camera flash. I would recommend something maybe going like with Godox, or a flash point. They're probably $120, $150, but again, it's going to last you a long time. Some of these flashes now come with rechargeable batteries. You don't even have to buy a AA batteries. This old flash that I have from Nikon is SB700. I still use AA batteries, and sometimes it's a pain, honestly, to be able to go buy them if you don't have it somewhere. So get a flash. All right, so what's the second thing? Well, second thing is actually also related to lighting, except now you want to be able to take your flash and your camera, and instead of this being on top of your camera, you want to separate these two, and you want to have it what is called off-camera flash. And what you're going to need to accomplish this, you will need a trigger. At this point, your photography is going to be completely different level, because the way the light is going to fall on people's faces, the way you're going to be able to illuminate the room, it's really, really beautiful. In fact, a lot of professional photographers, maybe it's a wedding photographer, a portrait photographer in the studio, they use external flashes, and I use them all the time to be able to trigger my my speed lights or maybe my strobes. So again, I would say this is number one. This is number two. What's number three is you want to give yourself something to make things a little bit more softer, and that would be an umbrella. Okay, umbrella is going to be your friend. They don't have to be very expensive. It's basically, you can get something for, I don't know, 20 bucks on Amazon, and it's going to last you a long time. So having an umbrella in your photography gear bag is going to be a great thing. This one is a Westcott. I use it when I go on locations. I use it sometimes in my studio. So, all right. Now the next thing is that you want to consider getting yourself is some kind of a strobe. If you're especially shooting something like a portraits, or again, you are maybe at weddings, or you are going out and shooting groups of people, having a strobes, because they technically can actually overpower the sun and give you enough light, whether you use strobes indoors or you're going to use the strobes outdoors. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have a trigger to trigger those strobes, you're going to have a beautiful light the way it falls, because your flash is no longer on top of your camera, and you're not going to have those red eyes sometimes show up, or you're not going to have raccoon eyes, or maybe the faces are too blown out because the flash happened to be too close to your subject's face. So having a strobes and some kind of like a modifier is really going to help you quite a bit. All right, so the next thing is, again, and this might be in a little bit different order. Let's say you are a landscape photographer, or again, you're working in a studio. What you want to have a decent tripod. It doesn't have to be top of the line. I personally purchased tripod actually right over here. It's a little bit bulky and big, and I wouldn't really recommend getting this one unless you want for your tripod to be somewhere stationary. This one is made by Manfrotto, and the model of this tripod is 055X Pro B, made in Italy. It's a beautiful tripod. It's hopefully will last me another 20 years. I had it for about a decade by this point, but it's very sturdy, very beefy. But get something smaller, even something that maybe, plasticky. If you can afford, get a carbon fiber. They're light, they're pretty durable. It's very easy to take it to a location. So let's say you are shooting in the evening and you want to have beautiful light. You want to have a proper exposure. The tripod is really going to help you a lot, and you'll be able to use the f-stop with pretty low numbers, because now your tripod is stationary. Maybe your subjects are not moving. The tripod probably be the next thing that you might want to get. So flash, trigger, some kind of a light modifier, and then again, you want to get a tripod for yourself, because again, it's going to take you to a very, very different level. All right, so what's next? The next thing is, and maybe you might want to consider actually getting this one a little bit early. I'm not biased to any company specifically, but getting yourself an editing software, right? So you got all the pictures right now on your memory card, and what do you do with this? I would suggest getting something either subscription based, or maybe you can buy a software that's not subscription based. I personally use Lightroom and Photoshop. It's very easy for me to cull images. It's very easy for me to edit them. A lot of presets, but there are a bunch of other softwares out there in the market that basically you can buy for 40-50 bucks maybe, and use it for quite a while before you find out this is what you really want to do, because be able to, when you're taking pictures in raw format, let's say, and you want to edit them, you want to increase your shadows, you want to reduce your highlights, or something like that, maybe you want to be a little bit more creative, it's really going to help you to have a software. Now it's kind of one of those things, it's a necessary evil. Yes, sometimes you're going to have to pay for it, and you may not use it in the future. However, if it's a subscription base, you can always cancel your subscription. So I would suggest getting like a Lightroom or Photoshop. It's going to really help you quite a bit. Guys, I just want to kind of plug this in. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up. I know that YouTube algorithm really appreciates something like this. It puts my video to a different level. And I'm pretty encouraged that this is a second year of me doing a YouTube channel, and I have gained nearly getting close to 2,000 subscribers, and such a huge thanks to you guys. It's been really awesome to be able to answer all of your questions and to be able to go back and forth and discuss and help you guys out. Now guys, I do want to say, if you have any questions relative to, let's say, hey Vitaly, I got this camera, I got this strobe, what should I get next, and this is what I'm interested in doing, guys, put it in the description below. I'll do my best. I don't have millions of subscribers like some of the popular YouTubers. I got a lot of time, I can answer some of your questions, so please put it down in the description below, and I'll do my best to provide you my feedback and what I think is what I would recommend getting, and maybe what I would get next. But please tell me what you shoot, because without knowing if you're a portrait photographer, a wedding photographer, or a landscape photographer, or street photographer, please let me know in those terms. All right, so what's next? Now you have all these little things that will actually help you to take your photography from, let's say, A to C to D to M and F and Z. I would suggest now you might want to experiment with different type of focal length. So how do you make that decision? Let's say maybe your first lens was like a 50mm f1.8, and that's a great lens. You can do a lot, but maybe now you want to experiment with a zoom range lenses. Well, in this case, I would consider something like a 24 to 70 f4. It doesn't have to be an f2.8. f2.8 is much more expensive. In many cases, it's actually more expensive than the camera. There are advantages for those lenses, but getting like 24 to 70 f4 will really support your photography. It will take it to a different level. Now, let's say you are wanting to focus more on portraits, and what you can do. What could you do? Well, I would suggest getting something like an 85mm for portraits. This 85mm lens is actually considered to be one of the most popular lenses for wedding photographers, as well as for just general studio portrait photographers, because the image quality is number one, the closeness of shots that you can get number two, and how pleasing it is to someone else's eye. This when it comes to using this lens, it's beautiful. Getting like an 85mm f1.8 is really will help you to stand out from the crowd. In fact, you can actually build the entire portfolio just using this lens alone. So getting an 85mm f1.8 will really elevate your photography. Now, so let's say you already have 50mm lens, maybe you have an 85mm lens, maybe you have a zoom lens, but you want to do something different. You want to bring your portfolio again to a different level. I would suggest experimenting with something like a 70 to 200, the f2.8 if you can afford that, because that will allow you to get a close-up shots, and it will allow you to have more of a candid photography rather than just being up close and something that's more staged. So now, if you already have that as well, consider getting yourself a macro lens. Now, macro lens, it will completely open a new world of imagery for you, because you get to see the details of whether you're taking pictures of insects, or you're taking pictures of some textures, or maybe if it's plants or flowers. The beauty that you will discover with having a macro lens, it's probably could make the photography one of the more interesting ones, because most of us don't see a level of detail that macro lens would provide. So maybe something like a 90mm lens, or maybe 105mm lens f2.8. Macro lens is going to be an awesome addition to your camera bag, considering you already have some of the things that we just discussed. And guys, I think I'm just going to leave it at that at this point. You know, so many photographers think about it, well, you know, in order for me to take my photography to a new level, I need to have a better camera, and I need to have 25 lenses in order to cover all aspects of photography. And that's not really the case. The biggest thing is, you know, at some point you're reaching this point of diminishing return where you may end up spending quite a bit of money, but you're not getting so much more in return. So I would say starting with the light, because light is camera is everything about capturing light. If you don't have a good light, good light, you don't have a good image. Whether you do sports photography, or you are doing a street photography, or whether you're a portrait photographer or landscape photographer, it doesn't really matter. Capturing light, this is going to be the most important feature or thing in your camera bag, whether it's a strobe, whether it is a speed light, or maybe multiple speed lights and a trigger. Many wedding photographers, that's really all they have, right? I mean, we can talk about different straps, and we can talk about little different things that you can add to your camera bag, but it's not going to take your photography to a new level. So this is the part of the video that's the most challenging sometimes, because you don't know what to say in the end, and I am terrible at creating an outro. So yeah guys, I hope you found this video educational and informative. Please like, subscribe, so that I know that you like the video, and that will allow me to make more videos like this, more content like this for viewers like you. Thank you.